Good evening, everyone. I'm Mukesh Lapinder. The government's appeal against former PLP Senator Frank Smith opens in the Court of Appeal, with the Crown listing 6 grounds why the case should be sent back to the Magistrates Court and heard by another magistrate. With the story, we go now to a report from our BJ McDermott.
The Crown's lead attorney in the matter, Director of Public Prosecutions Garvin Gaskins, on Tuesday suggested Chief Magistrate Joyanne Ferguson Pratt took extraneous matters into account in her ruling that led to the acquittal of former Public Hospitals Authority Chairman Frank Smith back in February. At the time, the Chief Magistrate determined that the respondent, Magic Touch Cleaning Company owner Barbara Hanna, was dishonest in some instances, specifically when it best suited her, which made her evidence inconclusive. Refuting as much, Mr. Gaskins argued otherwise, adding that the one point maintained is that she had to pay Smith $5,000 monthly for being awarded the cleaning contract of the critical care block at the Princess Margaret Hospital. Mr. Gaskins also took issue with the Chief Magistrate's decision that Hannah was evasive regarding her relationship with the former PHA chairman, adding that it was quite difficult to comprehend considering she had received 2 loans from him. On this point, the Crown argued that Mrs. Ferguson Pratt's point was not proper, as taking into account the relationship between Hannah and Smith exceeded her lawful function. As for the Chief Magistrate's finding that Hannah told Smith to be careful, they are out to get you, the DPP charged that this was inconsistent, as there are a plethora of reasons why the statement was made and that they was never identified. He added that it did not point to being any cabinet minister or police officer. As this was one of the basis of the Chief Magistrate's findings, Mr. Gaskins said it demonstrated danger and an irregularity in Pratt's decision. Court of Appeal Justice Maureen Crane Scott questioned Gaskins on if a bank slip was presented in the evidence to prove that money was being taken from Hannah's account monthly to pay Smith, noting that this was what butched the Crown's case. To that he said yes. Now at the end of her ruling, Mrs. Ferguson Pratt said there wasn't a scintilla of evidence to suggest Smith extorted Hannah. To that, Gaskins said there was evidence along with evidence that the two met. He further pointed out that the magistrate's comments regarding Health Minister Dr. Dwayne Sands and National Security Minister Marvin Dames' conduct as public officers was wholly inappropriate. Arguing for the defense, Jamaican attorney Keith Knight QC said the Chief Magistrate had every right to take all matters into consideration when coming to her findings, as she had to fulfill the role as judge and jury. He added that no such complaint can be made that the magistrate went too far in her deliberation because she had to preside over both the law and the facts in this case. Reporting for JCN News, I'm Berthany McDermott.
In news from the lower courts, a week after allegedly committing the crime and just days after police made an arrest in connection with the matter, 2 men were today charged in connection with that double homicide on Potter's Key Dock. Escorted before Magistrate Samuel McKinney were 30-year-old Ramon Young, aka Moni, and 25-year-old Deshaun Brooks of Pineville, North Andros. It's these 2 that authorities believe opened fire on Anton Lockhart and Merrick Johnson at Island Delight Stall Tuesday night. Dominic Johnson, aka Rich Kid, is accused of abetment to murder in the matter. Neither was required to enter a plea. The trio was instead remanded to the Bahamas Department of Corrections until June 20th. Also caught and charged today were Jason Ferguson, Diego Carey, and Finaj Wright. They're the 3 allegedly behind John Bolt's smash and grab earlier this month. The trio reportedly stole $451,625 worth of jewelry and watches at the time, in the process damaging 2 showcases and 1 countertop at a cost of nearly $40,000. 24-year-old Carey and 22-year-old Wright pleaded not guilty, while 33-year-old Ferguson pleaded guilty. In the end, all were remanded to the BDC. Well, it seems the call for there to be a 30-day reprieve from murders in the country has fallen on deaf ears. It was after 11 last night that a group of people were standing on Plantal Street when 2 vehicles pulled up. The occupants opened fire, hitting 5 people before speeding off. Police say 4 of the wounded were taken to hospital. The 5th died on the scene. Investigations are ongoing in the case of this matter, as well as 2 armed robberies here in the capital yesterday, the first after 1 p.m. We are told it was around that time that a woman was in the parking lot of a Daswell Street business when a gunman robbed her of cash before pulling off in a royal blue SUV license AK9311. Later that night, a man was at his Coral Harbor home when two gunmen made off with a hefty haul that included the man's watch, wallet, cash, as well as his gold Ford F-150 pickup truck, license AE7878. Anyone that can help authorities out with any of the matters should call the nearest police station. The immigration minister has some choice words for the Inter-American Commission on Human Rights following its recent advice to the government to stop detaining migrants. The AACHR contends that this is not the answer for illegal immigrants. Well, Minister Brent Simonet says he has difficulty whenever an international organization tries to force a sovereign country to do things that are not in its best interest.
I don't think a number of persons fully appreciate the influx of illegal immigrants here in the Bahamas and the cost. So, for instance, a boatload of 100 persons arrive on our shore today. Are we supposed to let them walk around the street until we decide when to repatriate them? These are issues. We have 100,000 square miles of water. Illegal immigration is a large problem. We spend about $1.6 million a year repatriating non-Bahamians.
Mr. Simonet went on to respond to claims of profiling and statelessness.
Stateless becomes when you are stateless, in my opinion, which is, you've got to be careful on that tight frame. So in some countries, third generation born outside the country are stateless. Fine, we can deal with that. But someone who's born, first generation born in the Bahamas, has the right to a passport of another country. They always have that, so they are not stateless. That's very clear. Now, whether or not they want to go and get that passport is a different issue. So for a commission to say they're stateless, I have a different understanding of the law than what they're saying.
The minister's comments follow Rights Bahamas' presentation at a thematic hearing to the commission last Friday on the rights of migrants and their descendants in the Bahamas. The Bahamas was called before the commission in response to the organization's petition. You're watching JCN News. Stay with us.
This segment of the news was brought to you by Alive.